Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed to another edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast, as we're always broadcasting live from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Now, joining me right now here from Gainesville, one of my favorites, the man who's been around the Gator beat for a long time now, for multiple coaches, for better or worse. Yes, he is my good friend, Edgar Thompson with the Orlando Sentinel. We got to go over the latest on how the Gators need a new football coach. Edgar, how you doing today, buddy?
Well, my hair was your color going into last weekend.
Oh, really? It was, huh? All right, let's start.
This beat will age you overnight.
Let's start with the obvious. What were your thoughts when you got word that Billy Napier was fired at the University of Florida?
Well, we were just in a holding pattern Sunday because we knew this was coming. Even though they won the football game, it was on brand Billy until the end, right? I go back to the sequence where it was 3rd and 7, and DJ Lagway did a quarterback keeper. It turns out it actually was an option play where he probably should have thrown the football because it was cover 0, I'm being told, and it was kind of up to him to read it. Well, interestingly, I was talking to former quarterbacks guru David Cutcliffe at times during the game, Peyton and Eli's mentor, among others, and he made a comment about sometimes it's the quarterback needs to make a decision or make an adjustment, kind of like Peyton and Eli did. And I said, well, you're talking about two of the more elite quarterbacks of all time, and certainly maybe the most cerebral in Peyton Manning's case. I'm sure there are some others, but he was up there. And DJ probably screwed the play up. But they're facing a 33-4-yard field goal. You remember this? Yeah. Then they go delay a game. Then Damian George rears his ugly head from 2 years ago where he got a penalty a game, it seemed, gets a 15-yarder. Trey Smack trots out and has to kick a 54-yard field goal, which in the end proved the difference in the game because they won by 2. Then you need a 349-pound defensive tackle he was 19 years old to make a very athletic play to intercept a pass to save your bacon and win the game. But at that point, unless they came out and just beat Mississippi State impressively and looked like, okay, maybe we can get something going here, Billy was done. It's a bye week. You give the new staff or new interim coach and this rejiggered staff, which we'll talk about because he's made some changes to the offensive structure, particularly Billy Gonzalez, some time to get some familiarity and some comfort before you prepare for Georgia next week in Jacksonville. So we knew on Sunday it was coming. I had a massive story written, which really was written a year earlier. I had written this story a year ago. I had to update it and change some things, but I was ready to roll when this thing happened. I'd heard about that he'd been let go a good while before I was able to fully report it because the one source was not comfortable enough for me to go with it until I could get a second source, which is fair, even though we knew it was true. You can't, in this day and age, others might operate under a little bit lighter standards, but we really can't just run with things that we're pretty sure or 99% sure are true. But Billy was gone. And then it's just gone from there. But it's a sad ending in a way. Good man, respectful guy, really revered by the players. I think respected by his staff. Certainly the administration felt he did things the right way, except on Saturdays. But that's the day that counts the most.
I agree with you. And I like you use the word sad because that's how I felt. Where you had that Saturday night post-game news conference. He was kind of emotional. You were there in person.
And it was a question I asked. In fact, he got choked up.
What was the question you asked him then?
I kind of danced around it a touch, but tried to be direct at the same time where I said, look, A lot of excitement at the end of that game. But then the reception by the fan base as you were leaving the field, and he gave kind of a knowing kind of like grin, maybe grimace. It was grimace. And then I said, a lot of uncertainty around your future and just how are you handling it all. And he talked about, look, I'm built for this. I was made to be a coach. This is what I do. You're in these leadership positions, and this is what, this is your responsibility. And then he just kind of paused and goes, I just love the game of football, and got choked up, kind of gathered himself and said, I love the game. And then he looked to the next question, but was misty-eyed. And
yeah,
it's hard. I mean, he's treated me very well. Not saying he's the most dynamic guy I've ever covered. In fact, he's probably the most like phlegmatic guy I've ever covered. I mean, he's very like low key, even keeled. But if you give him a chance and listen to what he's really saying, the way he puts together his answers, the way he thinks through things and lays out things long-windedly, which I can relate to, as you're seeing, but he makes good points and he's about the right things. But in the end, again, it's not what you do Sunday through Friday. In the end, it's what you can do on Saturday. And he's the worst coach percentage-wise on every metric that you would judge a coach on the field. He's the worst Florida's had since right at the end of World War II, when Raymond Wolf was like 138% of his games before Bob Woodruff, who was a pretty good coach, came along. So it's been 11 coaches since Raymond Wolf.
My thing is, I've known you for a while. I've been here since 2013 in the state watching this football team. This will be my fifth coach. Fifth? Like, yeah. That's why I use that word sad. It's like I've been in this press conference before. I feel like we're in a rerun after a while, right? I don't know what to think. And again, I said this on TV Sunday, dude, it's been 17 years since they won the conference. You could go to an R-rated movie, 17 years. So I know all the Gator fans, the standard, we're great. This is an amazing job. Can you win at Florida? Maybe that's the question for you if you're the next head football coach.
Well, obviously it depends on the coach, and the game's changed so much even since Billy arrived. He wasn't ready for the changes. He was operating in an older paradigm, and he certainly offensively was doing that, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that was really what doomed him, was his offense. But in terms of his arrival, December of 2021, the portal NIL had just begun that July. Okay. Florida was not ready for NIL. Not just Billy, Florida wasn't. So Scott Strickland, I think felt, and he wasn't alone, but he was naive to think that this wasn't going to immediately become pay for play, which it did. And I don't think he felt like that's how Florida was going. They didn't want to operate that way, didn't plan to operate that way. And I think he thought it would be like Trinity Thomas, the star gymnast at the time, would go do $500 autograph session at a restaurant and get a pass to the buffet line or two, right? And that would be like the reward for NIL, or you get free like 3 months rent, if you did like a couple Instagram posts or something, if you were like the star quarterback. Anthony Richardson got a car, okay? It was a Dodge Charger. That would be a jalopy in that parking lot right now. The cars in that parking lot are $75,000 to $125,000 cars. Everyone's driving like just high-end luxury automobiles, and cars that really are like barely street legal. I mean, the thing's got like 600 horsepower. Some of these, you hear these kids get in, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, you think you're at pit row at Daytona, I mean, it is just changed.
And you're on the campus there in Gainesville with 600 horsepower.
Yeah, well, no, you're in the parking lot outside the $87 million standalone facility that Billy Napier actually inherited, that Dan Mullen was supposed to get. And then all the accoutrements that have come with it in the negotiations constantly on NIL and raising the money to pay. This was all, he had to deal with all this stuff in addition to trying to rebuild a program, reestablish its brand, the recruiting that had languished under Dan Mullen to a degree. I think he just had a lot on his plate, and he really did address a lot of these things well. But the football was also predated 2021, and the game's changed even in the last 10, 12 years. I go back to Lane Kiffin, who is the top candidate for this job. Okay, he is. And I would be surprised he's going to have to turn it down to not get this job. Okay. 2014, Nick Saban hired Lane Kiffin as offensive coordinator. All right.
Yeah.
The SEC media days in 2013, so whatever, a year earlier, he was bemoaning up-tempo offenses. And in fact, even saying they were dangerous. And Gus Malzahn took Auburn to the national championship game and lost in the last seconds to Florida State, running that up-tempo attack, right? Trey Mason in that group, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
So he was like, all up-tempo is the worst thing to ever happen, and it's bad for the game. Players get injured, they get tired, whatever. A year later, he hires Lane Kiffin. I'm in Tuscaloosa that September, Florida against Alabama. Blake Sims, who probably was the worst quarterback Saban ever had. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't elite. First play of the game, 87-yard touchdown pass to Kenyon Drake. That was how Nick Saban changed 11 years ago. Billy Napier comes in here and still wants to run the ball like Nick Saban was doing back in 09, 10, 11, right? He wanted to run this kind of this old school zone blocking offense with taking an occasional shot down the field. And he just was behind, and he didn't adjust. And, that's why we're here right now. I asked Scott about it. There were conversations about bringing in a play caller, right? And this last season, I think there were strong encouragement by Scott to bring in a play caller. And Billy dug his heels in, having won 4 games then last season, after getting a vote of confidence that a lot of people weren't sure he should even receive, but he did, made the most of it. And he said, yeah, I think I'm good. And he kept the same offense. And they are currently averaging 17 points a game against FBS competition, which is last in the SEC. So that's what doomed them ultimately, was they couldn't score enough points. They couldn't win big games on the road, 0-14 against ranked teams, and 5-17 overall. And it just wasn't a good product or an explosive offense.
Even in the Texas win a couple weeks ago, that fourth quarter, that kind of summed it up for me. They should have won by 3 touchdowns, smoked them, and they just there were no adjustments at halftime, and they were just holding on for dear life. That's what it felt like when you were watching that game. And Sarkisian was just dumber as a coach because Napier kept giving him the ball and they couldn't get it done. That was it for me. And again, I like Napier.
Their offensive line stunk and Florida was swarming Manning. But anyway, yeah, you like Napier?
I liked in my interactions with him. I like Napier one-on-one. I thought he was great. And it doesn't matter that you have to win at Florida. You have to. It doesn't matter how good of a character you are. You have to win football games, right? Isn't that the bottom line?
It is. And Dan Mullen, let's be fair, until Marco Wilson threw a shoe against LSU, he was 29-6.
Yeah.
He would have been in the playoff, a 12-team playoff, 18 and 19, and possibly slipped in 20 at 8-3 because they went toe-to-toe with Alabama in that SEC title game, better than any team played Alabama that year. And that might have been Nick Saban's best team. It was certainly one of his 2 best, the 2020 squad. So he might have had 3 straight playoff teams and he'd still be here potentially. Someone the other day, it was Reese Davis, in fact, they do a podcast. Everyone does a podcast, but theirs is College Football Game Day. And it's solid. Dan Wetzel, when he's on it, it's really good because he used to do the one with the College Football Inquirer with Ian Forty and Thamel. But Reese Davis said, Scott Strickland, and I've made this case, and I think I made it to you on your show before.
Yeah.
Should have gone to Dan, seeing that the recruiting was languishing, even as far back as 19, but certainly by 20, it was clear the recruiting was slipping a little at certain areas. The defense had obviously fallen off the cliff that year, and he needed to go in and get him to fire Todd Grantham, and he needed to have vision, which is something that's easy to say people should have. Hindsight's 2020, right? And said, we're going to implement a front office structure of some sort and take this off your plate and, the large load of it. And we are going to put rosters together for you to coach on Saturdays. And he might still be the coach here, and Florida might be winning at a high level because he is an elite game day coach and play caller. And that's what they were missing under Billy Napier. He was a good roster builder, a good organizer, and certainly enhanced, as I said, stuff like the player experience to a level where they could, entice really top talent here to Florida.
We're at Edgar Thompson with the Orlando Sentinel. All right, so if you go back to Monday, I know this all feels like it's a blur here the last couple of days. So Monday, you're at the press conference. Billy Gonzalez is talking interim. Strickland talks, right? Lagway's there. What was that like with all these guys getting in front of the microphone and then giving their thoughts on the future of the program?
Well, it's first off, it's laudable, I would say, for any of them to take the time. I mean, Billy Gonzalez really would need to speak at some point this week, you would hope. But they could have just said, hey, I'll speak on the SEC teleconference today. But that would have been really kind of untenable and unfair. But Scott Strickland getting up, I give him credit, but he should. He needs to own that hire and its failure, the reasons behind it, and the path forward. The surprise, excuse me, the surprise was players. And those players were asked, and not one of them was like, oh, man, from what I heard. They were all like, yep, let's do it. These guys are leaders. Miles Graham might be the most impressive 19-year-old athlete I've ever covered. He is just incredibly impressive in front of a microphone, the way he handles himself, the quotability, intelligence. DJ Lagway is not dynamic speaker, but he gets up there and does his duty. Jake Slaughter is just a great young man who's going places in life, whether it's the NFL or in some other facet. He's just an impressive young man, hardworking kid. So it was, look, people got up and spoke, and Scott said, we're here to win national championships. That's what this program is about. And they're going to do everything in their power, including pay the enormous price tag it's going to require to buy out Billy Napier, 21 million, and to hire the next coach at, I'm thinking conservatively, the next coach will make 12 a year. And you're going to have to really, really strain the budget, especially while you're also trying to do $1 billion+ swamp renovation. And of course, you got to pay $20.5 million, and that price tag will continue to go up in revenue share annually to athletes. So it's just it's a math puzzle, literally, with a lot of dollar figures involved. So that's all on him, and I'm sure it's taking its toll. He wanted Billy to work out. He respects Billy. He respects the family and what he stands for. But 48.8% winning percentage, man, is like the lowest by a mile since 1949. Woodruff was 55, I think, and his was even lower than the rest after that. No one, I think, was 60 otherwise or less. I mean, coaches that were seen as like, Muschamp was like 62. And he's seen as a failure.
Yeah. I've been wanting to ask you this question. Everyone debates me on this. In hindsight, Edgar Thompson, if Napier would have been like, all right, I'll bring in an offensive coordinator, and DJ Lagway is injured. He was injured in the spring. He was banged up last year. We're not sure about fall camp. If he would have came out and said, look, we got to rest this guy. He cannot start the season. We're not sure if we can, and we put someone else as the starter. Could that have saved Napier's job here in year 4? If you
that might have. And there was a feeling that DJ Lagway might have needed shoulder surgery. Okay. I don't know if we're talking like a reconstructive surgery here, but he had an impingement, and those things don't go away. You're talking to a guy who's got one. See the tape?
Oh,
I mean, I have a shoulder issue I've been dealing with for like for 30 years, but I mean, I've been doing PT on it for like a year and a half, and it gets better. And then you do something and it gets a little off. Shoulders are tricky. They're not a big, like they're not like they don't have like huge muscle mass around them. They're tricky. There's not stability in there. So he has an issue with his throwing shoulder. Maybe it's worked its way through. He's young. He's strong as an ox. Maybe it's better now and he's fine. He looks like he's throwing the football pretty well now. But this set him back. And then he gets a calf injury. He had apparently a sports hernia surgery after last season. This kid's had something going on ever since he got here. And he had shoulder soreness last year after the Miami game. It came up. And then he goes out against Samford and throws, 5 passes of 40 yards longer and 450 yards, and everything seemed okay. But he's been unable to really do the work and get the reps and the time in live situations to be ready for this season. And September was a debacle. I mean, they scored 1 touchdown against USF. He wasn't good that day. Then at LSU, he throws 5 picks. And then he goes to Miami and throws for 61 yards. I personally feel like Tramel Jones, the freshman from Jacksonville, who showed something during the LIU game, should have replaced him at LSU at least for a series or two to let him settle down. Billy says he doesn't operate that way, which I'm thinking you don't operate to win games, because I asked him straight up, did you consider maybe settling him down after the pick 6? Tramel Jones, by all accounts, been out playing DJ Lagway at practice for a while. Now, I'm not saying currently, but last month, he apparently was out playing DJ regularly at practice. And people were wondering why he wasn't playing. So it'll be interesting to see if this new staff, if DJ struggles, might give the kid a shot. But DJ really did hamstring Billy. Billy could have come out and said, the young man is working through some things. We're going to have to see how it goes. And then the expectations for this kid and this team might not have been as high. And people would have been like, oh, yeah, the kid. But then you might have had to maybe shift and play Tramel Jones some. And Billy I don't know, man. He's a stubborn dude, and he doesn't like to share anything. Whereas Billy Gonzalez has already been like a breath of fresh air in terms of like talking about like, what would be considered like, state secrets.
This is where NIL comes in, where do I have, and not just DJ Lagway, every player moving forward, do I have to play this guy if he's good or bad because we're giving him millions of dollars? That's what I'm confused on for the future of basketball, football, any of these sports in college. What are your thoughts then?
Well, that is a theory I keep hearing, and I've dismissed it.
Okay.
But the fact that everyone has this theory, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. And wouldn't be the first time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, look, your job's to win football games, and in the NFL, there are all kinds of guys, or NBA or whatever, with big contracts. Major League Baseball, the way they throw money around there, guys hitting 180 that you're paying a pile. You're going to take them out of the lineup and let them figure it out, right? And you're going to give them another shot. That doesn't mean you just bench DJ Lagway and he never sees the field again. But you got to find the winning formula here at all costs if you're Billy Napier. So to that point, Billy Gonzalez. Okay, go ahead.
What's so crazy is after everything you just said about September, they were in every single game, every single one, even with all the interceptions at Baton Rouge, they still could have won that game.
They should have kicked a field goal at Miami when it was 13-7.
Yes.
Because Trey Smack, as you can see, he's incredible. He missed 3 field goals against LIU. Now, one of them was 58 yards, hit the upright. That kid is a stud. And he would have hit that kick. You got 13-10. Maybe Beck throws another pick. I mean, we saw him, against Louisville the other night. The guy's an interception machine. So you could have won that football game somehow. I mean, LSU, they're down there and DJ throws a pick, 5th one, and you're in not the red zone quite, But what if Tramel Jones was playing then? Maybe you get a field goal. Maybe you get a touchdown. Let's say you get a field goal. It's 2013. LSU makes a mistake. I'm just saying, it's just like they're 24-17 at Texas A&M for a good while until Billy did his absurd 4th and 6 with 13 minutes to go at the 50. Or I guess it was Texas A&M 49. He goes for 4th and 6. It's like, what are you doing, man? No. It's just, some of it was so like head scratching. So shifting for a second, please. Okay. Billy Gonzalez is now in charge. Former longtime receivers coach. He was under Dan. He's been with Urban Meyer, Dan Mullen since 2001 is where he started. John Hevesy, the former line coach, all the way through 2008, I believe 9. And then he left for LSU. And I don't know what all happened there. I was covering the NFL in South Florida at that time. Went to LSU a couple years, reunites, I think, with Mullen. I believe that's how it went at Mississippi State, maybe in 12-ish. Ends up at Florida with Dan and leaves in 2021 after they were fired, and then ends up back here in 2023 with Billy. So he's on his 3rd UF staff. He's seen some good football. Yeah. Okay. He was at Utah when they were 12-0. He was here for 2 national titles. He was at Mississippi State when they were number 1 in the nation in 2014. He was here with Dan Mullen when they were in the top 10 2 years in a row, 3 years, in fact. So he knows what good offense looks like, knows what good football looks like. He's coming in and he is shaking it up. Russ Callaway, who I think was offensive coordinator name only, is going to be the overarching kind of offensive guy. Ryan O'Hare, the quarterback analyst who works with DJ, worked with Grand Mertz, receives a lot of praise from the people that work with him, is going to call plays. The other day, it sounded like he was going to be on the field. Well, now he's going to be in the booth, it comes out today. And you know who's working directly with DJ Lagway on the sideline? None other than Steve Spurrier Jr. Head ball coach Jr. is going to be on the headset working directly with DJ Lagway on the field. And they are looking to shake it up, get DJ playing better, because they know if he plays better with Vernell Brown Jr., the third, if he's healthy, he dinged his shoulder a bit. Trey Wilson might get going finally. I don't know how the heck that kid's been lost in the shuffle. Dallas Wilson is a beast, the freshman from Tampa. And Jaden Baugh, the tailback. You have some real playmaking potential on this offense if you can get DJ cooking and get this offense going. With this defense, the way it's played, you can win some of these ball games coming up. You can challenge Georgia. You can win at Kentucky. You can maybe hang with the lane train over in Ole Miss. You can beat Tennessee that never seems to show up in the swamp under Heupel. You can definitely beat Florida State. You can get bowl eligible. And that would be a hell of a way to, put a bow on this season for this team after all it's been through.
Let's end with this with Edgar Thompson. I appreciate coming on. You bring up Old Miss.
Excuse me?
That? The game, like you're saying, where you're taking on Lane Kiffin 2 years in a row. And again, Napier beat Kiffin last year at the Swamp. Everyone and their mother is saying, oh, yeah, it's Lane Kiffin. It's Lane Kiffin. What's that game going to be like in a couple weeks then, where they have to take on Ole Miss, where everyone thinks he'll be the coach at Gainesville next year?
Well, not to get people, people will be getting out the smallest violin they can, but our industry's tough. And Matt Marshall and I both had to make a decision and my paper, it's fine. We had to back off of one trip. It's going to be obvious when we don't go. We had to choose one of 2 trips in November because we, cross over with the Magic and a lot of stuff going on, right? Yeah. So I crossed Kentucky off the list, and I made that trip a bunch. And it'd be nice to go, but whatever, we're not. But I'm definitely going to Ole Miss, and you have to be there because that could be the next coach here for one. But that's going to be just an interesting environment, even to see how Florida fans react, because they will be Florida fans at that game. And will they go there and cheer Lane Kiffin? Will they go there wearing, get Lane train to Gainesville, whatever the heck the t-shirt is, Lanesville, someone calling it Lanesville, right? And that's going to be a unique game for sure. Last year, Ole Miss beat itself. Jackson Dart, 2 late interceptions, lots of drop passes, 24-17 decision. It was a huge win for Billy. Ole Miss certainly deserved an assist for that one. I don't think Lane's going to beat himself this time. He's going to lay it on if he can. That offense is up and running. The guy's an elite offensive coach. Top 3 every year he's been there. Number 1 in 2020, 2021, 2024. In the SEC, that is. Top 3, number 1 3 times. And they got another really good offense. And it's going to be a shootout if Florida's going to have a chance to win that one, I think.
What would he bring to Gainesville if it is the Lane Train as the next coach?
Well, he'll bring offensive acumen that few coaches in the college have. I mean, he's right up there with the best of the best play callers, offensive schemers there are. I mean, there are a lot of them. I mean, you got Lincoln Riley. I mean, Mullen's up there, right? I mean, you got some really good people. I mean, you got, Petrino's pretty damn elite at that. And I mean, I'm forgetting a bunch of guys. I mean, but he is up there as one of the great play callers. And then he brings like an edge, man. I mean, he brings that. Everyone keeps talking about it, but it's not like cliche. There's that little Spurrier swagger and the needle. He brings that. I was telling someone it's going to be like covering Trump, light on his social media. I'm sure White House reporters have someone just totally assigned to cover Truth Social and wherever Trump's tweeting, right? I mean, you'd have to be. Lane won't be quite that onerous in terms of covering his social media account, but he had a picture a couple weeks ago of him doing hot yoga the morning of a game, and he's like 2 co-eds, and he's got his shirt off. I mean, I could be in Austin next year, and Lane's, picture on Twitter with him with half the cheerleading squad doing yoga, and you'd be like, all right, gotta write that. I mean, I don't really want to be writing those stories, but that's the world we're in. But it's fun. It's entertainment. I mean, his dog has more Twitter followers than most anyone covering sports. So he's just got, he brings something that's unique and interesting. That's going to be fun and entertaining, energizing. It's going to, allow them to raise a lot of the money they're hoping to raise or needing to raise the ticket prices they're going to need to raise. If he starts winning big, even if he doesn't win big, they'll raise those prices, I'm sure. But anyway, I think he'll come here and he'll get them in the mix. They'll win games. But Lane still has things to prove as a winner. He still hasn't won against ranked teams on the road, top 10 teams. He's 0-8 now after blowing a 9-point lead, 17 unanswered by Georgia last week. He hasn't won a title other than the 2017 Sun Belt crown at FAU. He's got things to prove, but he's really made a roll about face in his approach to his life, to his craft. I think he'd be a home run hire, and I personally feel like he's really the only hire for this program if it's serious about getting this thing on track.
What can we check out with your coverage then with the Orlando Sentinel, buddy?
Well, OrlandoSentinel.com. I mean, we have deals all the time. I mean, you can get our paper online pretty cheaply. I mean, sometimes it's $1. It's often $3. And then, keep an eye on it because they probably will hit you for $20 a month. But the point is, the coverage you're getting, Mike Bianchi wrote an incredible column the other day on Lane Kiffin. It's one of the best things Mike's written in a long time. It's fantastic. Go read it, Mark, if you hadn't. And it was, and I'm just writing nonstop about this program. I think we're giving you accurate, fair, balanced, and, readable, entertaining coverage. I do a podcast with Mark Long twice a week, and I think that's a good listen too. So just to pimp my work, which I usually don't do in these things, but thanks for letting me do that.
Okay. How come because I know of this great Matt Murschel as well, who covers UCF. When are you and me going to come up with the bow ties? We need to do this. All right. We got to be like Matt.
That's Matt. That's Matt's thing, man. I let him have his thing.
He always
my thing is I look like I'm ready to play 18 at any moment. I just need to get this shoulder a little healthier. Hey, but everyone jokes with me. I walk in, the guy's like, people are like, "Did you just get off the golf course?" It's like, no, but that's where I wish I were.
Hey, we need you for the playoffs, buddy. Get that shoulder right. We need you.
All right.
So it is. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope I can get you on again, especially after that Ole Miss game, and we'll continue this conversation. All right.
Do it.